Why did the mushroom leave the party?
Why?
Because he wasn't a fun guy.
No, he wasn't a fun guy.
He
Wow.
wasn't a fun guy at all. And I'm definitely not a fun guy. Yeah, episode 11.
Yes.
Thank you so much to everyone for watching the last few weeks. I know I've been away, Paul's been away, but we are getting onto some trajectory.
Yes.
There goes my English
Some sense
already.
of normality. Yeah, we got trajectory down pat. We don't have English down pat.
The only thing that's not normal right now is that I do like PSV and I'm wearing an Ajax jersey.
What a
Now,
confliction.
I was hoping to start this episode by saying, oh, look, we're wearing the Ajax Amsterdam jerseys. But no.
This is not an American podcast.
How you been? You been good?
Yeah, good, man. Pop up yesterday, so I'm a little burnt out today, I must admit.
I can imagine. I saw your story at 6 p.m. saying thank you to everyone. I was like, mate, go to bed.
Yeah. And look, to be honest, I think I was setting up till about 10 p.m. the night before, and yeah, it's a big day. But yeah, it was good. It was good. A good turnout, and it was good fun, actually. It's always good, and it's going to be, I think it's just going to get better now because we're going to start leveling things up, and things are going to change. So stay tuned.
Jersey culture is definitely growing in Australia. It's so good to see. We've got a lot of women's jerseys coming out with the Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
Matilda's jersey sometime this month, and then World Cup's just around the corner. But when it comes to retro vintage jerseys, what do you like? So I know you got vintage in your name, but what do you like calling these ranges when they come out? Like, do you call it vintage, retro, throwbacks? Like, what's your favorite name for
that's
old
an interesting one, right? Because I know I feel like retro kind of refers to like a re-release.
Yeah.
I feel like retro is a bit more fake kit.
Would you say like retro is more Americanized while vintage a bit more global, like British,
potentially?
English, Australian?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know. I think vintage kind of. I feel like it feels more valuable.
Yeah.
And I know that was my mindset behind even when I named PFC. I was like, well, it could be retro, it could be old. It just
Polo
it's
retro.
Just, yeah.
No, look,
Play
on my note, I think retro is a bit. I don't like the name of retro. I know this is a retro range from the Ajax times, Adidas Originals, but I do like the name vintage. I think vintage is a lot more. I'm not just saying because your name's not vintage, but I feel like vintage is a broader thing, while retro maybe makes me think too much more of like the 50s and onwards.
I think I go straight to like a neon kind of era, and I don't know why that is when someone says retro.
Makes me feel like Grease Lightning, while vintage makes me feel like something of the past, and it doesn't really have a date. Like vintage could be like 20 years ago, while retro is a bit more like. It's almost like saying cyberpunk, where it's a bit more futuristic retro.
Yeah.
You know
like 70s. I straight away go to like roller derbies and stuff like that when someone says retro, and I'm a bit like
70s. Well, this is the 70s, so then
it does make sense, right? Actually, it's probably bang on for the cause, right? So this is based on early 70s.
Yes.
Ajax.
So first of all, thank you so much for everyone for listening to this episode. Make sure to follow us on all our socials on Ultra, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, and of course, both of us, PFC Vintage and Talking Shirt. Now, this is inspired by the 70s. Now, specifically, 71, 72, 73.
Yes.
50 years anniversary. 3 Europa trophies in a row. Was the Europa sort of the equivalent to Champions League now?
Yeah, so it's exactly that. So yeah, it is. Imagine that though, 3 back-to-back titles of the Champions League. That in this day and age, I know Real Madrid had a very good era, and that's probably the closest. Even I think Barca got close to 3 as well. I think they had doubles. But I think that's insane, and really I think that's what puts Johan Cruyff on the map. I think Louis van Gaal is also in that squad, and I feel like that builds credibility around him as well. And I'm sure the rest of the players in that squad that aren't coming to mind, but that also built a credible career based on that era at the club.
Yeah, and look, I think Ajax is iconic for its strip as well, because when you look at the club and look at its identity, and in the recent years, they have been known for their creation of players, their academies.
Yeah.
Some of the players have come from that club. But I would always say, and this is coming from a football fan that really enjoys, and both of us really enjoy jerseys, but when you look at something like PSG, the iconic Hector design is something that you always sort of signify that represents the club. When you look at this, it's the same thing. A lot of fans were really happy with it. A lot of fans also asking that the red should be a lot narrower. No matter what, the red and white always represents Ajax.
Yeah.
The way it's designed, I think Adidas has done a great job in doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 Europa trophies in a row.
Massive. You know what's interesting? I know the PSG reference is an interesting one because I feel like you look at PSG and you have this very modern take to kit culture. And I feel like Ajax do the opposite. They hit that classic.
They still stay on that classic
Yeah,
train.
and like, they do different things like the Bob Marley type kit, the Three Birds or whatever it was called.
4-way and thirds, yeah.
Yeah, but they do, test the waters and try and like, set new boundaries and stuff. And I like that, but I still love that they always go back to their roots. And I think there's a sense of pride that comes along with the club too. Obviously, super rich history as we already spoke about. But I think it's something that's iconic. Like, you don't think of an Ajax kit and you don't think of that red and white. So, it's always connected together. So I think it's great. I love the fact that they went long sleeve with this.
Yeah.
I don't know, is there a short sleeve in this range?
I don't think so in this release, but iconically in the pre-2000s onwards, long sleeves was just normal part of football. But these days they've removed it from the performance-based thing.
Yep.
It isn't as heavy as the original jersey in the 70s would be. Like that definitely would have been made of some sort of
Wool.
thick wool. Of course, when you look at the jerseys pre-technology of sports, a lot of it wasn't made for player performance. But this is not. So for people watching and people listening, this release isn't a performance release. It's a bit more of an off-field lifestyle.
Yeah, leisure wear.
Adidas Originals is collaborating with the club, and Adidas Originals is just the best part about Adidas, where they can go back into the past and create the future, sort of like look back, retro, vintage vibes. Now, this one here and the range that we've got on our wall, we've got the black T-shirt there, we've got the nice zip-up jacket here, and then I've got this nice off-white, bone-white T-shirt. There is also a pair of Sambas. I'm not sure if Ultra is stocking those, but these here in this shot right now are all available in-store and online at ultrafootball.com. But yeah, look, talk about this quickly. The Greek god or the Greek identity iconic Ajax, that logo itself is just beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was looking at it in comparison to the one, I think it's the 73 shirt, because the 73 shirt was the one they used with Adidas, I think it was. And then prior to that...
Wait, 73? It was Lecoq?
73 was Lecoq.
Yeah, prior to 73 was in-house.
Yes.
And then they went with Adidas until 2000. So they've only been with Adidas for 23 years.
Wow.
So since 2000, they've moved over to the three stripes. Now, of course, as I mentioned, Adidas Originals, but Ajax are also in their top elite clubs in their portfolio. So, for example, you look at Adidas, they would sort of hierarchy Arsenal, United, Real Madrid, Ajax, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So these teams here in that sort of portfolio get more of attention from the big dogs at Adidas rather than the smaller clubs around the world.
100%. They literally tier them, don't they? They literally have
as
first
a
tier,
portfolio. I
second
know
tier.
Nike is well known for like Barca's and Chelsea's.
Yeah, of course.
And you see those with like special releases. When it comes to Adidas, of course, they do have a team like Ajax.
Yeah. One thing I did like about this, and that was sort of why I was alluding to the Adidas fact before, that there's no fear in going back to the trefoil. And I know obviously that is Adidas Originals, like that's what it is, but I love that element on this, and it does give you that feeling like it is from the 70s, and the shirt was made back then, but obviously it's modern production.
Yeah.
I think that is a really nice touch, and I like even just touching it now. Like it's a bit
silky.
It's silky, but the crest is somewhat rubberized. It's not. I wouldn't say it's rubber. It's definitely a print, but it's thick, and I like that about it. I feel like it does have quite a lot of similarities to a lot of the shirts from the 70s and 80s that I've come across. Which is really nice to see.
Look, it's a really good release. Even the T-shirt that I'm wearing right now, like it's perfect. I can mix it with my normal off-field clothing. The best thing is Adidas Originals has done something amazing with United. Has always done something with Arsenal.
Yeah.
But to see them push the boundaries and go over to Ajax is really good.
Yeah.
I have to say one thing I do love about this release, even though I think when we look at football jersey releases, you always see the cheesy hoodies under jerseys type of photo shoot. Adidas Originals have gone above and beyond to make this amazing. With their recent success with Wells Bonner doing Adidas Originals collaboration pre-Jamaica, this is unbelievable. The photo shoot itself, for people like ourselves who love photos, would you say the photo shoot for people like us heightens the jersey release? And do you think people who don't really pay attention to the photo shoots and the releases, do you reckon doesn't matter much to
Yeah,
them?
completely. I think there's like a big element of, I guess empathy is probably, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I like it when you can sort of feel like you're in that situation, right? Like, you in that kit, especially if you're considering, if you love the club, if you're considering buying the kit, I think if you can feel like you're in that situation, I think it's really easy to to kind of get that push across the line to be like, yeah, this is something that I'd
100%.
love to wear. And I think that's where Adidas seem to have nailed it, this one as well.
The whole blow core situation that we're going in at the moment, I'm not sure if you know what blow core is. If you Google on Pinterest or Instagram, it comes up with people in kits and how they style it. So I think the stylist on this done a great job on location scouting because that place is beautiful.
Yeah.
The browns and the sort of like light sort of tones of like the greens mix well with this era. And the 70s is a perfect era, but when it comes to kits, there's not many kits of that era that you can reproduce now because a lot of them don't have much identity. They're usually just plain jerseys.
Yeah.
So I think having that iconic Greek god of Ajax on the front of the shirt has nailed this whole collection.
And I wonder if that's why, because if you compare this to the 73 shirt, I'm not sure about the ones earlier, but the crest in the middle was actually slightly smaller. So side by side, this actually is quite bigger. It's a lot more prominent. I wonder if that was intentional based on the fact that it is, quite a simplistic era in football shirts. Maybe that's why it was like, you know what, let's make it a bit more bold, a bit more proud, and let's line it up with the...
Fans will definitely love wearing this in winter, summer, overall. The whole collection is pretty good. The jacket here is pretty simple. It doesn't really have the Ajax logo
on the back.
The thing
it's got on the back. Yeah.
So I'll bring it down soon and show it. But one more thing iconic with Amsterdam, you've been there with your wife.
Yep.
It's got the 3 crosses here.
Yes.
Of course, it's really significant to the city of Amsterdam. Overall, I give it a 9 out of 10. I think the only thing that really lets me down is, and a lot of fans have said it online, is I wish it featured the number 14 for Cruyff.
Yeah.
For a player that's really prominent in the mention of this release, why not put the 14? They have done it previously, but why not mention the 14?
I would have loved to see like a stitched on number, like that kind of,
like
your
a
traditional,
patchwork.
traditional type of name set or number set. And that would have been incredible to see.
I think that's the only thing that's let me down on this release.
Yeah, I think, look, when I heard about this coming out prior to the release, I was a bit I feel funny about retro re-releases because more often than not, it'll be a club issued shirt where the manufacturer doesn't really have much to do with it. And we'll see that with other releases that are going to come out. And I feel like it's a bit cringy when it's like unbranded, club crest, old sponsor from a company that probably doesn't even exist anymore.
I know exactly what you're speaking about.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect alternative.
Yeah.
Puma did it with Dortmund a few years ago where they actually used it for a match kit, but they took a lot of inspiration from the 95 kind of era. Yeah, correct. And I love the fact that Puma were like, you know what, this is our history. We're with this club now. We can help, connect these two parallels.
It's exactly what Adidas is doing right now with Arsenal. And
exactly.
Bringing back the zigzag and the iconic, the Thunderbolt that Drake Rainbow and Nike has created.
And that is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a part of the club's history. Yeah, okay, manufacturers come and go, whatever. But you can't take that away from the club and the fans. So if you can connect to it, it is absolutely brilliant. I'm really refraining myself from swearing because I think this is perfect at that, right? Okay, yes, they were with Lecoq back then. No one cares about that anymore. Let's give us the best opportunity to make a connection to that era, but without discrediting the brand or the connection between the brand, the club, and the kit from that time.
Yeah, look, the Adidas logo could have been in the middle. I reckon that would have been perfect, symmetrical sort of creation. But I think the fact they've gone where the exact logo of Lecoq was keeps it to the original design. What did you give it out of 10?
I'll give this a 9 out of 10. This is something, to be honest, looking at it now especially, I would wear this.
100%. I definitely wear it too, but I do like PSV more. Anyways, I think the whole collection is pretty cool. I'll quickly show this while we just interrupt this program by walking around the shop. So this does also have the nice Ajax. I don't know why I mentioned Hercules. Sorry, I was just mentioning other Greek gods and Greek warriors. But it does have Ajax on the back, the Greek god. One thing I have to say again is that high neckline. Look at that.
Yeah, wow. That is very long, isn't it?
You can definitely fold in half. It's a great one. I do love the 3 stripes on each shoulder. There is no mention of Ajax at the front apart from the 3 crosses. What was the 3 crosses? Was it 3 crosses St. George?
I don't know.
I can't remember. My Amsterdam history has gone out the window. But yeah, a great collection, a great release. Tops to Adidas Originals and to the club.
T-shirt, obviously very similar to the one you're wearing. Pretty much just inversed to a degree. There's not too much that's different actually between the two. Plain back as well, which is pretty cool. But not too bad. I think it's a very good range.
Good range. Like I said, all available at Ultra Football, whether it's online or in store at Ultra Sud or Nord. Overall, look, I'm really happy with this release. Really keen to see what else they come up with the next couple of months.
Yes.
Let's move over to our last little bit before we end the episode. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. What's been on your mind lately?
Sometimes maybe good. The Graham Potter and Chelsea saga has finally come to an end. I know. I think Chelsea they're notorious for sacking their coaches, right, and not having the persistency. And I think as a fan, you grow into that culture a bit too, and you don't expect less than you here and there. Okay, a drop off is not a bad thing. It happens, right? It still is bad, but you can deal with it. I think we're at a point where it was too bad for too long, and it just push came to shove, and I think they needed to say, you know what, this is not working.
Yeah.
In saying that, yes, I know its new, its philosophies come in, and there's a lot of variables in play, right? You have a squad that you didn't build, and all that sort of stuff. But I think I completely agree with the dismissal. I think he's technically stepped down. I don't think he's actually been sacked per se, but I think it was probably a mutual respect kind of thing. But now I guess the challenge is who's going to take over, and there's talks of the ex-Bayern coach. I blanked on his name.
Jurgensman?
Yes.
Yep.
I think Pochettino's up there. Zidane's free agent. There's a few potentials, which is good. So I think personally, I kind of wouldn't mind Poch. I was having a laugh with some mates this morning, saying it'd be funny if Chelsea signed Poch and then Potter went to Tottenham, just to keep the banter going.
Yeah, geez, that'll be good times in London.
Yes. How about yourself? What do you got for sometimes?
Look, I wrote nothing in there. There isn't much that I'm really connecting with in the football at the moment. I think all I would say is just jersey culture. I just love it. I think people need to be a bit more experimental and wear whatever they want, not be too worried about getting judged.
I must say, a guy rocked up to the pop-up yesterday wearing a Regina Culture Nakata shirt.
Yeah.
And it was
And what about the Bari guy?
Yeah, the Bari shirt was cool as well. I must admit, that is...
I love seeing the random jerseys.
Yeah, and I love
that.
The conversation that comes up at the events. It's like, that's awesome. Where'd you find that? Whether it's eBay or whatever, cool kid, are you from there? Do you connect with the club in any way? And a lot of the cases, it's just like, came across this kit, looked absolutely awesome. That Bari kit was amazing though. Such a cool kit.
Man, it's so good to see people wearing jerseys and not the top five. I always see United, Barcelona's and Real Madrid's in public. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
I think, like I said, make sure to follow us both on our socials, whether it's PFC Vintage or Talking Shirt. I'll definitely have new episodes coming up on my channel. Paul definitely has new stock coming out on the website soon. That's it. Keep it simple. Keep it short.
Catch you later.
JJ Focaccia. Keep safe. Stay away from stupid people. Stay safe. Stay away from stupid people. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.